Hello and welcome back to IGIHE. Today we are delighted to be hosting Jean-Luc, founder and CEO of Strettch Cloud. At the age of 22 years old, Luc has built a successful tech startup that is making big moves in the competitive market. He will be reflecting on the challenges, milestones, and vision that have shaped his journey as one of Rwanda's fast rising tech entrepreneurs. Luc, thank you for creating time to talk to us.
Thank you for inviting me as well.
Yeah. So at 22 years old, you have managed to do many things that many people I know who are above the age of 40 are yet struggling to do. So how did the idea of Strettch begin?
Thank you. That's a good and hard to answer question, but I believe there's two questions in there. How did I manage to be part of this, I would say, kind of movement or organization that we're calling a company, Strettch Cloud, and how did the idea begin, right? So for me to be able to do that at a young age, I think I've gotten a very big advantage from attending a high school that was built to specialize in teaching practical technology, practical skills that will enable the learners to do practical things at an early age. So we were enrolled still in high school in a school called Rwanda Coding Academy, and the school taught more about software development, cybersecurity, robotics, AI, even before ChatGPT. Mm-hmm. So you see, it was a whole holistic sort of education that would inspire all the learners to think of something they will do, and we have gotten exposed to opportunities at an early stage, where I even had my very first internship when I was still studying senior 5, and got my very first job when I was in senior 6. So that practical experience at a very young age gave me and my colleagues an advantage to start off thinking of practical solutions to real-world problems at an early stage. And when it comes to Strettch Cloud, first of all, for those who do not know Strettch Cloud, it's a cloud computing company. That means we are in the business of providing cloud computing services, which means normal businesses that have digital solutions that need softwares, they need those softwares to run somewhere. You see, even when you're holding your tablet, the software that you're using, it's hosted on your tablet. There is something that is running it. So for the big softwares, they need big computers. So our business is we have big computers, but we are selling them in a technological way that those who need the computing power, they don't have to own them physically. They can go online and access the computing power online. That is what Strettch Cloud is. And for us to get started with Strettch Cloud, I would say that it started as a company we called Strettch. It was the 5 of us who were graduates of the same Rwanda Coding Academy school. We're just getting started in university in our first year in the African Leadership University. And we actually had a discussion amongst ourselves, because all of us were exposed, as I said, to opportunities early on. We had jobs. Each one of us had a place where they were working at. And we had an idea. We said, if we happen to be working at different places, the potential, the things, or the possibility of us doing something, or even our efforts, will be diluted. But if we would actually put our efforts together, the bond we already had, the knowledge we already had, the holistic education that we've had from Rwanda Coding Academy, that would be something that was put together at an early age where we don't have a lot of risks to take, we will definitely come up with something that is great. We didn't know what that thing would be. So the very first idea was, why not start with working for others? Why not start a company as a software agency, and we are actually developing softwares for people? So that's where we started at. And the vision was, if we work for others, we will build a strong team. We will build a team that knows to work, how to work with each other, sort of like the same way the football team works. And then from the teamwork, we'll also have funds that will fund our own ideas. That's how it started in one of the projects that we've gotten when we were studying, even a big one. We had a project to work for Rwanda Polytechnic, the whole country, and build a system that would help students do research and innovation. And from there, it was actually one of the defining moments that gave us all of the opportunity to work as a team and even the funds to get started on our own ideas. We had a lot of ideas that we had in mind to work through and develop a product, but one stood out amongst the others, which was Strettch Cloud, and that's how Strettch Cloud started.
Yeah, I remember actually meeting you shortly after you won that contract, and 1,000 USD. That is almost 150 million Rwandan francs. It's a lot of money. How did you feel about that?
Well, I mean, I think the moment it happened, I had to think about it twice. I was thinking of it to be too good to be true, because the moment we won the tender, we haven't even been 1 year in existence as a business. So I saw it in two ways. It was something that was too good to happen to us, but secondly, it was something that was too huge a responsibility to keep, because as it is said, the one who is given more should be asked more. Yeah. So what is the more that is going to come out of this? That was the question.
Yeah. And now, taking you back to Rwanda Coding Academy, which year was that?
In Rwanda Coding Academy, we got started at RCA in 2019. 2019. We were the very first cohort of the Rwanda Coding Academy.
Wow, and you graduated in which year?
We graduated in 2022 because of the COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So were there, what was the inspiration to get into tech?
Well, my inspiration to get into tech starts from my childhood. I grew up as a very curious student, so I liked to learn a lot, and I would be asking myself a lot of questions very often. So it happened to me that I liked science when I was getting started, teaching about biology, teaching about life, how things work, and I discovered a long time ago that mathematics was sort of like the mother language of all sciences. I liked mathematics, but I had to ask myself a question. Now I'm getting to learn, I'm getting to know, but what would be the outcome of me knowing? So I was looking for the best practical thing that would come out of science. And that took me to understanding physics. It's the knowledge of physics that brought forth the possibility of us using microphones and cameras and all sorts. But I had to ask myself a second question. Now that physics is something that is good to know and that has brought forth a lot of technological changes, now let's look at this era of this generation. What is it that physics is bringing forth as a technology that would bring the most return on investment if something was to be done with it? And that was computer science. And that's how I fell in love with computer science. I would work with computer science books when I was still in ordinary level and trying to read them and trying to understand the new trends in tech back there, virtual reality, and a lot of other things. Yeah.
Great. And how did your time at Rwanda Coding Academy prepare you for this journey of leading a tech startup and even thinking about starting it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It has played a very big role because starting from the very first point, Rwanda Coding Academy was very much a sort of like project-based education. So they would encourage us to come up with ideas, to come up with something that would be practical, start as a project, but probably even come up as something that would, in return become a company and help people outside. So we would be taught skills, technical skills, but we would also be taught to think holistically in terms of what you're doing and how it can help the society. So when we were still at Rwanda Coding Academy, me myself, if I would give an example, I've already tried 2 startups when I was still at school. That failed, but I don't take it as a failure because I had to learn a lot through the process, which includes managing the team, what it takes to develop a software that actually works, that would go on production. And of course, as I said, the part of being exposed to opportunities early on, where we get to work with people who were in the industry for 10 years, 15 years, get to learn from them and learn from the world as well through the internet. Yeah.
And now getting to the level where you are in right now, the government and other partners supported you through the Rwanda Coding Academy. Talking about now, how supportive is the local environment for your business in terms of policy and how to access funding for Strettch, and how is there anything that can be improved?
Yeah, definitely. When it comes to the local environment and businesses, I think very few countries in Africa can beat Rwanda, especially when it comes to the process that, to the time that it takes for you to get started and have a business. It took less than 6 hours for us to get registered, and even when it comes to dealing with taxes, it's very easy, and it's made in such a way that actually supports businesses that are getting started. And you know, even I would say the rate of corruption that would hinder competition is little to none, right? Which is a good thing when it comes to running a business, because it creates a fair sort of competition. And one thing I would say as well, apart from the government investing in that school that had to give education, they also have a lot of opportunities that are brought to the table for those who were trying, for those who are trying to bring something that would work in the end as a company. For example, through programs that gives grants like Hanga, you know, and even the public procurement for innovation, from which we got the project of Rwanda Polytechnic. It was a government idea for startups to have a chance to work on big projects. So I would say a lot has been done when it comes to policy. And when it comes to, of course, there is always something to improve. I don't think there is a finish line to getting better. And I think I would say two most important points. I wish and I believe, and I'm very optimistic that it's going to get improved. It's, of course, it comes back to startups and taxes. Because, of course, as a startup, I think at some point we get to be put in the same brackets as companies that have been there for 10 years, 12 years and making a lot of money. And for a startup, the way it exists and the way it works, most of the money comes back in investing for the growth. You rarely take profit as a startup. So I think it's something that will be revised, and I think there is a process already that has been put into it. It's not yet finalized, but we are very optimistic that it's going to come through, that they allow startups to grow, the capital is used for investment, and when they actually become a very profitable company, they start to give back to the country. And the second one is there are some markets that I would say are binded to some providers. For example, this government institution or any other organization affiliated to the government should only use this as a provider. I think that policy limits the levels of competition, because even before getting started, you think you're not going to get to that market because there is a provider who has a binding sort of maybe contract or agreement with the government institution. So if that would be made something like a free sort of market, that anyone who is providing a solution that can be trusted, that can be proven to be doing the right thing, and be given that opportunity, that will definitely make a huge difference.
Great. And you know, when we talk about young people starting businesses, many people think about challenges. Yeah, like how am I going to handle these funding and everything? So what were some of the challenges that you faced when you were trying to create Strettch, and how did you manage to overcome them?
I would say that there are countless challenges in doing a business. And I remember there is this one moment I tried to search if actually the challenges tends to get lower as you improve, and I was disappointed. The challenges actually increases proportionally to how you're getting to improve as a company. So I would say one funny challenge that you face when you're doing business, do you know a cashier in a bank?
Yeah.
A cashier in a bank is one of the people who touches a lot of money, but a huge portion of that money does not go in the pocket, right? So actually, what happens as you run the business, most of the money is going back into investment. It's money that you will see and touch, but you're not allowed to put in what? In the pocket. But it's very different, especially when it comes to how people perceive you. They think all of that money actually is yours, right?
Yeah.
So you have to fight when it's getting started, to fight that urge to show people that you're rich when you're getting started, because all the money is getting back to investing in the company, and you know as well that you're taking a risk, because a business is a risk. However much money you're putting in the business does not guarantee that it's going to succeed. So there is also that possibility of, for example, you're having 100 million Rwandan francs and you're investing. There's a possibility that after 1 year it might come down to zero, right? Versus the possibility and the positive side of it that it might even actually come up to a profit. So you have to stay optimistic. That is one. And another challenge is getting to leadership, I would say. I believe that everything rises and falls under leadership. So leadership is one thing that has to be very strong when it comes to leading a company, because there are a lot of moments where the team members, where people you are working with might doubt if you're even going to make it, right? So it comes to you giving an example as a leader. For example, when we're speaking of let someone, for example, if you are one of the people who started a company, one of the decisions that are hard is maybe you've already gotten a job and you have to focus on the job full time. It might be an action, of course, that would that would require some sacrifices, but at the other end, that action can and would inspire other people. Because if you see that you're going all in and you're giving some sacrifices, some people would actually maybe even take it as an example. So it comes up to a challenge of, you're not going to be a leader by speaking, you're going to be a leader by doing. And I tell you, doing is harder than speaking.
And you also told me that you had to, when you were starting this company, you had to quit your other job, a well-paying job, to enter into entrepreneurship. Didn't you have any fears?
Yeah, I tell you, the moment I had to write the letter of resignation, that was the hardest day I had in my life, because as you said, I got exposed early on to jobs. I got my first internship when I was in senior 5. I worked at the RTB when I was in senior 6 through graduation, and I was also a team leader working at Umwarimu Sacco, a local bank that helps teachers in the country. And after that, I worked at an international company based in Scandinavia. I would say that was one of the things that I was dreaming to become when I was very old, but it was getting to happen at a young age. I remember when my employer asked me the age and I said I'm 19, and he was saying, no, there's no way you're 19, right? Yeah. And of course it was a relatively well-paying job because it exposed me to a lifestyle I never imagined I would live per se. But of course, I mean, there come an idea, because as I said, I met my colleagues at the university, at the African Leadership University, and we were seeing that potential in the team and the potential that will come in us working together. So I said, at this time, where we are still young, where most of us have not maybe gotten into, let's say, for example, the possibilities of starting a family or something, right? So you don't have a lot to risk, right? So we were like, for me personally, I have a philosophy that there is no better way to live life than to live it to serve people. Yeah. So I don't think there is a better way to serve people than actually do it in business, because business comes forth as a solution that is going to solve a problem that the society is facing. And the business comes forth as something that is going to offer opportunities, give jobs. A business comes as something that is going to pay a huge amount of taxes and make your country grow. A business has no limits whatsoever to, let's say geographical boundaries.
Yeah.
A business can grow from Rwanda and grow across the continent and even grow across the globe, and you've seen some businesses even going to the moon. So a business has no limits. So the moment I say there is a potential of us as a team starting a business, I couldn't see anything as a blocker. Even when I had to quit a job, there was an opportunity for me even to get more from the job I was working at if I wouldn't choose to leave, but still I had to choose to leave because I believe in the potential of what we started and what it's going to become and how it's going to serve people.
All right, great. So Sauvé, Strettch recently unveiled Strettch Cloud, a platform that you described earlier. So how unique is this platform, and how do you intend to compete with giants? We know many giants that are operating in the region and even in many other places here in Africa, and you've positioned the company as a Pan-African, cloud platform.
True.
So what makes it unique, and what is the long-term strategy?
Yeah, that's a very good question. What makes Strettch Cloud unique? You see, in the present sort of landscape or how things operate right now, when you are a business operating in Africa, and you actually want to work in Rwanda, you want to work in Uganda, you want to scale across Africa, it's very difficult for that to happen. Why is it so? It's because, first of all, there's what we call data sovereignty. So those are, there are data sovereignty laws in more than 35 African countries, even Rwanda included. And those laws limits people from storing data outside their country, which means that puts the global cloud computing giants off the list among the options. Many of the companies that are operating in Rwanda, that are operating in those other African countries, from the options that they would choose from. So those companies are forced to choose local options. So when it comes to local options, when it comes to cloud computing, first of all, starting from Rwanda, there is none among the local cloud computing service providers in Rwanda, apart from Strettch Cloud, that has a self-service platform, that has a software with which you can use to go and have access to that computing power without interacting with people, without necessarily having to call someone, without necessarily having to write an email. In just 1 minute or even in seconds, you can get your virtual machine or virtual private server or that computing power that you as a business, as an organization, or as an individual, you are looking for. That is starting with Rwanda. Second is, we don't have any cloud service provider in Africa that is present physically in multiple countries at the same time, which means for companies that want to scale, they have to deal with multiple cloud service providers in each country they go to so that they comply to those data sovereignty laws. But it introduces a lot of problems, which includes that workload of managing different providers. You are creating different relationships to different providers. You are even introducing security issues, especially when it comes to cloud security. It's something that is very, very important. So what we are envisioning to be, we have already started in Rwanda. We are serving a lot of companies already, and we want to have an infrastructure in Kenya, have an infrastructure in Uganda, in Morocco, in Nigeria, in South Africa, so that it will help all the companies that want to scale across Africa scale easily. Yes.
So the inspiration is clear, but now what about the cost? How does it compare with the other competitors?
Definitely. So there's what we call economics of scale, which means if we are selling to a huge number of people, to a huge number of organizations and companies, it starts to balance the ratio between the costs and the revenue, which sort of like adds to one of the reasons why our services are the most affordable if we are speaking about in Rwanda, and more affordable than many cloud service providers you would find in Africa. That is one. And the second one, we are doing, the platform that we are building is ours. We have invested efforts and focus and a huge number of talented engineers to work on the platform that is secure, that is user friendly, while many of our competitors are actually licensing, and they're paying to those licenses, which are way, way expensive. And for that, it adds that part of the reasons that makes our services affordable. And the third one, which is when it comes to the procurement of the infrastructure. If you are doing the cloud computing services business, it means you have to procure, you have to buy the physical servers. And there is the way, the technological way you're going to make one server be something that can give many servers. We call them virtual machines. So we have special ways we operate in such a way that one server can actually provide many virtual machines than what our competitors are actually doing, which gives us an advantage, and that means it also gives an advantage to our customers because they're going to be paying less for more. Yeah.
And talking about talent, how are you grooming your talent to keep up with the market standards?
Yeah, definitely. One of the hardest things to do in business is build a good team. I would say that, I'm not sure if I would say we were lucky to have the five of us start Strettch when we were already experienced. Many of us worked together, and we also had a great world-class education when it comes to computer science. So it became very easy for us to spot a talent, that a person who actually understands what they're doing, someone who has the skill not only to learn, but also a skill to learn by themselves, to keep up, right? For someone who has that sort of culture of stretching, that's even in the name of the company. You keep stretching every day. So the moment we notice a stretcher, someone who always stretch, right? We can tell, and we can give all that we have to have that person, right? To have that talent. And I think that played a very big role in us coming up with the team that we have, a team that I like working with. And I think it's what we call a dream team of engineers, of people who challenge each other to become the best version of themselves, to explore all of the things around technology, even sometime beyond technology, to see what would come from other sides to contribute to what we are doing as a company.
You started from humble beginnings, as co-founders. How has the team grown?
You just mentioned humble beginnings, and I would say we really started from humble beginnings, as you said. I remember when we were just getting started, we were investing our own money in some projects which ended up, I would say, failing. But it was an experience. It wasn't just a failure. It had to teach us a lot. But from the day we started, I remember I used to talk with our CTO about this. The way when you're getting started with business, at some point you are naive. You do things because you're lacking context about things. Yeah. And when you remember how you started, you just laugh at yourself, right? And when I see the growth that has happened within these 2 to 3 years, is we have learned a lot about how the real world works. Not only just about technology, but about people management, but about a little bit of politics as well, and about how, when we speak about taxes, policies, and a lot of things, I think there has been a lot of growth when it comes to knowledge, when it comes to context of things and how they work. And we've grown even in terms of skills as well, because we learn each and every day.
Great, 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 great. And you told me you intend to scale to many other places. Where are we looking at?
Yeah, as I said, our vision is to scale across Africa. Do you know why? One of the biggest reasons is because when you see the cloud computing industry in Africa, for example, it is at $45 billion valuation right now. That's a lot of money, right? And what happens is most of that money goes outside the continent. Let's get back to Rwanda. How many companies are using those global cloud service providers? There are many. That means we're getting money from our pockets to outside our country, to outside our continent. And what happens is we are creating jobs for them. We're making their systems better. So that's something we're looking forward to putting a stop on. The money should not go outside Rwanda. It should stay in Rwanda and makes our systems even better. And it gives us control to our data. Because once we have control to our data, we are not compromising our security. That is one. And we want to scale that across Africa so that all that huge valuation that you just heard stays in the continent and develops the continent. So it's a sort of like a very Pan-Africanist sort of movement, if I would say so. And as a role, we believe that we are playing as part of the movement. And we are in 2026, and we're looking forward to being in Kenya by 2027. And as we, gain experience from a different market, it's going to be very easy for us to be in at least 6 to 7 countries in 5 years to come.
Yeah, you talked about valuation, and there's this tough question I like to ask my guests. When you began this company, if it's something you could share, how much did you invest? For a young person sitting outside there who is thinking of starting a company, but they think their $1,000 is not enough.
Yeah.
How much did you invest? And you can even go ahead to tell us what is the market valuation of your company right now.
True. Yeah. Well, I will answer it this way. The very first thing we had to invest in the company was time and focus. Those are the two biggest resources. And I think focus is even greater than time from what I think, right? So we had to first of all take that time and say we're going to try out something. And we give the focus to it. So the moment you are going to try out something, because our company might be different from the company that the person watching us might be thinking of starting, right? So the moment most of the companies are there to solve problems. So you are thinking of the problem you want to solve, and you want to think about what it will take for you to solve it. Can you solve it single-handedly, or will you need to build a team around that? And if you want to bring out a team, do you have enough capital to pay them? And if you don't have enough capital, for example, would you propose and influence the team to join you through the journey in such a way that when the benefit comes, you will all benefit from it, which is another alternative, right? So for us, when we were just getting started, we had the skills, we had the knowledge, time, and focus. Now, that was the primary thing that we invested when we were studying. At some point, we could see that maybe it's going to take some money, right, for us to invest and maybe do something like, let's say, if it's building software and we need maybe like to hire 2 or 3 people and we gotta pay them. Like we invested almost like 2 million Rwandan francs when we were just getting started, which didn't bring, I would say, anything of direct value apart from teaching us, as I said, but afterwards that experience gave us more exposure to many other opportunities, because we had experience, for example, in how to understand coming up with proposals, and that led us to maybe winning a very big tender. And from the tender we got funds that allowed us to self-fund in Strettch Cloud, which we had to bootstrap, meaning that we had to invest our own money that we got from working from others to get started, to make something that to make at least the minimum viable product that we can put out there in the market, and it took almost 30,000 US dollars to have that working prototype. And our vision was, if you have a working prototype and you can prove that the market demand is huge, because before we even went live, we had to put out there a wait list to tell people we are going to bring this thing out in the market. If you're interested, join the wait list. And we had around 300 plus people from different, even big companies from Rwanda join the wait list. So after validating the market, after reaching a stage where people are actually using the product and looking through the intellectual property we've built, looking through the team, the people who had to quit their jobs and work on the company full time, we actually ended up coming on a 2.5 US dollars, 2.5 M USD valuation as a company. And that's where we are at right now. And that's where we even raised money from.
Impressive. And any young person who is watching this program can really see that starting from humble beginnings, where it can get you. Moving on, as a techie, there is this notion that AI has come to, sort of replace and kill some jobs. How do you feel about that?
Well, at some point it is true. It's not only going to replace some people who are doing particular jobs. I think it's at some point going to exterminate some of them. That at some point we're no longer going to be having those jobs in the market. But one positive thing, I think, when it comes to artificial intelligence, it's going to elevate us to a level where we do things we otherwise wouldn't have done before. For example, when I speak from our experience as Strettch and Strettch Cloud, of course we have to have that fundamental understanding of how things work and experience, but artificial intelligence has helped us in such a way that we've done things in 3 months that we would have otherwise done in a year and a half. That's a huge save of time. So which means for those people watching, it means that even that you are curious about knowing that, you are already at a good starting point. And the second point you have to be at, it is to take advantage, because it's undeniable that some people are going to lose from that particular kind of emerging AI, but other people are going to gain so much. For example, we're speaking about content creation. Some people are expressing themselves, telling stories and making animated movies in seconds, and they're blowing out in the world, and everyone can see the stories they're telling. People used to be writing novels. We had a lot of, novelists, people who would write novels, and a lot of novels would be written, and maybe very few of them would be sold on the market. But right now, that artificial intelligence gives you the ability to do that even in a better way, and express your creativity and create opportunities out of there. Yeah.
So people shouldn't be worried so much.
Yeah, people shouldn't be worried at all, but they should be committed to taking advantage of artificial intelligence and doing their best to know that what they're doing, be it an individual, organizations, or even the government, to make sure that they're using fully the technology to increase the productivity and reduce the time that it takes doing what they're doing.
Yeah. Now, Mr. Luc, as a Gen Z CEO, I am curious how you manage your teams and you keep them inspired. Yeah. Because many people think Gen Z, they hold different opinions about Gen Z. I'm curious.
Yeah. The good thing about our team is I don't manage it alone. We work as a team, of course. I'm the current Chief Executive Officer. We also have our CTO, Noiri Clarence, Liberiste. So I think that, first of all, makes it very easy. But leadership, in general, it's a full-time job in itself. So you have to make sure that the team is in sync. Is everyone motivated? Is everyone having, for example, sharing the the kind of vision that we are, we have as a company? Do we have the same values? It's sort of at some point challenging, but it's something that is good to learn. You were speaking about being a Gen Z. At some point, it's a challenge because, especially when you have to deal with people older than you. I think on that aspect, I'm a little bit lucky because most of the people, until they know my age, they think I'm actually older than I am. But aside from that, it takes a lot of learning, because I think leadership, some people can be born with that talent of leading, but at some point it even takes people to practice it. For example, I've been engaged in for I think 3 years now in a club called Toastmasters, which actually has a motto saying where leaders are made. So it teaches public speaking, networking, and leadership. And I'm even serving as one of the executives there. But it was a good ground for me to learn more about leadership and practice it and take that skill to the real world scenarios like building a company. So I think practicing it, learning daily, and especially from failures, because every day you have hits and misses. So those misses, when you actually end the day, you try to reflect, what did I miss here? Why did I even miss, right? And you try to incorporate one thing you've learned from it to the next day, so that you turn that miss into a hit in the next day.
Impressive. And what are some of the achievements that you are most proud of?
Well, I would say, of course, in one way or another, I would say we're just getting started. I think a lot of great things are ahead of us, right? But as we speak, one of the things that we, working for others, it's not easy, but it's relatively easier compared to developing a product and having someone pay you. So when we came up with Strettch Cloud, a lot of people were doubting if it's even something that is going to go out there in the market and sell. So the moment we had the first customer paying for our services, showing that this is something I need, this is something I trust, this is something I'm going to build my businesses on top of, this is something that I'm going to trust my whole entire business to run on top of, it was, I would say, a great thing to us and an honor. And what made it good, it did not stop from one person. It actually grew to more than 10 people. It grew to more than 20 people, organizations and companies, and now it's going beyond 50s and 60s, and it keeps increasing month by month. So the acquisition of customers who were paying for our services and us getting to see how Strettch Cloud is helping their businesses is, I think, by far the greatest achievements we celebrate in our company, Strettch Cloud.
Now, beyond the Strettch Cloud, what are some of the tech trends you are most excited about, and how is Strettch as a company, positioning itself for that?
Yeah, I know it sounds cliche, but the first one, of course, is artificial intelligence. And there is a problem in AI as well, because as a country, even as a continent, I think as a whole, we are relying on models that runs on top of the infrastructure that is outside our continent. For example, in the US or in Europe, that means those models need what we call GPUs to run, for example, which are very, very expensive right now as we speak. But we have very few organizations or companies with GPUs in the country, right? Which means most of the time when you see an AI technology being used by a fellow Rwandan or African, most of the times we are sending data outside the country. And that violates the data sovereignty law as well. So it's something that we are looking towards introducing in the country as well, so that we are actually renting that infrastructure on top of which models will be running, and it's running in our country. Again, it comes back to giving ourselves control back to us, because the moment those people outside our continent, outside the country decides they are no longer giving us access, it's going to be a disadvantage. But if we have it ourselves, no one is going to say we are revoking access from you doing amazing things. And another thing which is not talked about much, it's one thing that is called quantum computing. It comes from the concept of quantum physics, which I think it's not yet fully developed, but in the near future it might introduce big and interesting changes. Let me say one among them, which is teleportation. Teleportation is the concept of you moving, but without moving, right? So you teleport somewhere without covering a distance. For example, if you want to go to France, ta-da, you are already there, right?
How?
So it's like in 1 second you move from a place to another. It's actually a physics concept that have been proved, but on an atomic level. So an atom actually teleported from one place to another without covering a distance. So if that can be implemented on a big object level like a human, that will mean a lot, because that will mean transport will now be easier. We'll maybe having houses where you enter in a place and then you say, I want to teleport to France. In no time, you are already there. That would mean the spaces that the roads are taking will now be restored for people to have enough space to live, right? So that's a crazy sort of tech trend that is there, and that I think it's going to surprise people as well in the near future, as much as artificial intelligence has surprised many.
I see. And I'm also curious, you know, as a Rwandan rising tech star, which is the most, you know, the most advanced innovation in this country that you are most proud of?
When we're speaking of the most advanced innovation in Rwanda, they are a lot of them, of course, especially when you look at the infrastructure in terms of we've already adopted the 4G and even the electricity. We often we often underrate how much having electricity available helps us. All of these things we're talking about, if you don't have enough electricity, we are not doing anything. We are also talking about artificial intelligence, something that the country has adopted. We are also talking about space, which is something that the countries. We also have a space agency, by the way, in Rwanda, which is also something that excites me, which I think there is going to have a correlation between space and what we're doing as cloud computing, because we might not, for example, have enough space to have data centers on the ground. Why not? Maybe we're going to have data centers in the space, right?
And the other day we saw Bill Gates unveiled the AI health initiative, and we are proud that Rwanda is among the countries that will benefit first. What role do you see the Rwandan tech community playing in that? You know, Bill Gates is big, but then I think we also need a good support system. What role do you think, you know, young people like you should do, you know, to make the vision become a reality?
Definitely, that's a very good question, because as I said, sustainable development, it's sustainable because the country is being developed by its own people, right? So I see when it comes to tech, especially when it comes to the health sector, there is a lot to be done for it to be improved. For example, let's start at the services, the software that is being used in the hospitals. They can be made more performant, that's an example, more user-friendly, and for example, we can be having, because we have a lot of data we are collecting, especially when it comes to the sector of health, that can be made of a big use that we are not tapping into right now. So artificial intelligence is one of those technologies that is going to help us take advantage of that data and turn it into meaningful insights that can help people prevent diseases beforehand, or maybe it's a sort of pandemic. We can realize that it's sort of going to go across the country and we stop it early on time. That's another example. So when it comes to all of those things, developing the systems, making them better, providing infrastructure, where Strettch Cloud, I believe, will come in place, I think it will be a huge opportunity if the government encourages the local population to be the providers of those, which are going to be helping throughout in that health initiative.
Great. And as we almost come to the end of this interview, I'm also curious. You know, we have talked about a lot of serious things on this platform.
Okay.
Outside all this, the techie and everything, what keeps you motivated?
Yeah. Outside tech, I have a lot of hobbies. Sometimes I fall short of time to explore them, or other things I actually go into. First of all, I told you that I like public speaking a lot, like speaking in public. I told you I'm the vice president in charge of membership of Toastmasters Club, which teaches about public speaking, networking, and leadership. Also a vocalist, by the way. I can sing,
okay.
so I also play guitar, but in a sort of basic way, I would say, because it's a hobby. I'm not a professional singer. I also used to write songs. I've written like more than 10 songs. It's an album. It's a whole album, right? So I've written songs. Sometimes I go play guitar. I like swimming a lot, right? And even other sort of like social activities, because I like socializing, getting to know people, playing billiards. So there are a lot of them. I only fall short of time to go and explore. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Now, as we come to the end of this interview, there are many young Rwandans who are watching right now. They are thinking, how can I also be like Luke? What message do you have to such young people who are ambitious? They want to do big things like you and your friends. And like I told you, when I saw you guys last time win that prize, I knew these guys were headed somewhere. And true to it, you guys are doing great things. So what is your message to them?
So my message to the young people, especially those of us who are living in Rwanda, I believe that there is so much things to be done to solve a lot of problems that we currently have. But one thing I have to admit, it is hard. It is not easy to do. And but I believe that to every problem, there is a solution. So the first thing is to think in terms of possibilities, to think in terms of what can I do to solve this, rather than taking time and lamenting about what's happening, what's not going well, and trying to become the change that you want to be. Because what happens is, when there is a problem and you think that there is an answer, you become a victor. But when there is a problem and you think that you can't find an answer to it, you become a victim. And it comes from the mindset of thinking that for every problem there is solution, and often more than one solution. It's where creativity comes from. So my message and my advice is to have that mindset, positive mindset, optimistic mindset of that everything is possible, and put in the work that is necessary to make it possible, no matter how hard it would be. Yeah.
Great. Jean-Luc, it was a pleasure hosting you here today.
Thank you very much.
We wish you the very best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And to our viewers, we thank you for your time. We hope you found this discussion insightful. And until next time, it's goodbye for now.